Chestertown, Maryland.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're with Peter Flatland, who gave me a call. He's from Chestertown, Maryland, and he has some really interesting stories about the concave Earth. So take it away, Pete.
All right. My real life experience happened when I was about 13. So that was like in 1979. And I was up in Massachusetts, this place called Salters Point, and I was on a private beach, and I was by myself, and I had my towel laid out on the beach, and I was right near the water. And it was a day unlike anything I'd ever seen. The water was like glass. There was no wind whatsoever. And it wasn't even like coming up on the shore. You couldn't even hear it. There was like zero waves whatsoever. And I'm laying there, and it's so quiet, I could hear waves breaking in the distance. Well, there was this hurricane that was out at sea, and it was bringing in these tremendous swells in behind an island called Cuttyhunk. And there's an island directly in front of that. I can't remember its name, but that's the one I was looking at. And so I just happened to have my binoculars with me. Because, I like fishing, and I like looking for schools of fish. And so I picked them up, and I look out, and I can see the breakers. And in these breakers were rollers coming in, were like about 2.5, maybe 3 feet. They were huge.
Wow.
But where I was, it was totally flat, and no waves whatsoever. And I'm looking out, and I can see these breakers, and I'm like close to the water line. I'm like, well, how can I be seeing them and also be seeing them break on the shore on this island 5.5, 6 miles away? So I get the idea to get in the water, and I bring the binoculars down. I take it all the way down to water level, and when I get down to water level, I really can't see any much. And I bring it up about a foot, and then I can see the breakers in the center of the channel. And I'm like, and I can see the beach. I can see the water line on the beach, and then all of a sudden I can see a wave come in, and then I lose the water line of the beach, and it breaks, and then I can see the other rollers coming in. I'm like, how in the world can I be seeing this? I said, if the Earth is convex, it should cut my line of sight.
Right.
And then I thought, well, if it's flat, it would cut my line of sight. I shouldn't be seeing these rollers in the center of the channel. They should be cutting my vision.
Yeah.
And that's when I first realized the Earth was concave.
This was when you were like 13 years old, huh?
Yeah, I was 13 years old, and of course, then I ran back, and first person I saw was my grandfather, and I told him, and the wise man that he was, he said, Pete, it very well might be.
That's cool.
And then, of course, I told my parents, and they said I was crazy. And I talked about him with a couple times after that, and they were just so adamant against it that it couldn't be, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
We live on the Earth, and it's not concave. And so it kind of went out of my mind for a little while.
Did they convince you not to believe in the concave Earth after that, or for a couple years?
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you, immediately after that, I got hit by a guy who sought me out, and he was an extremely rich guy, like the type of guy that his butlers have butlers. And he was a kid, and he was about maybe 2 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And him and I went fishing and had a good time. And he mentioned to me, he goes, there's these people who believe the Earth is flat, and they're crazy. And he put that seed in my head, because I was thinking, hey, I had heard about these flat earthers, and I was going to look into it. But after that, I was like, oh, they're crazy. What am I doing thinking of something like that,
It's funny, your name, Peter Flatland.
Right. Well, it's it's interesting. With my last name, I've been mentioned the Flat Earth Society to me about 6 times in my life, and only once was it ever mentioned to me by my last name. And the last 2 people that mentioned it to me, 2 years ago, I had a 2-star general mention, hey, there's a bunch of people that believe the Earth is flat, the Flat Earth Society. And, I kind of joked with him, yeah, I believe you, my last name's like Flatland, and so on. And then it wasn't until the summer I met a lieutenant colonel, and he said, yeah, there's a bunch of people that believe the Earth is flat, the Flat Earth Society. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, maybe they're trying to tell me something here, and that's when I took it seriously. And I looked into the Flat Earth Society, and the same time I came across your information as well. And I was looking at yours and theirs,
Mm-hmm.
and, Flat Earth has a lot of good points. Really, I think that you almost have to believe in the Flat Earth first to make it to the Concave Earth.
That seems to be that seems to be the train of
It's
thought.
like kind of like riding a bicycle. You actually have to turn around and then see the Earth flat, and then you can see it concave.
Yeah, that's what I kind of mentioned. It's like a progression for a lot of people. But
Right. So that's kind of how it went for me. And, you're the only one that can explain everything that questions all these little things, but the flat earthers can't come up with the answers, but you seem to.
yeah, there's a couple problems, a couple major problems. Obviously, with the flat Earth, the pole star conundrum, and the sailing distance, flight paths in the south, and it's just a matter of realizing there's more to what we see. I mean, when we see the horizon is flat, there's got to be a little bit more to it. And obviously, you had the opportunity to actually see it curving up, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm really having problems hearing you. So.
Oh, I just mentioned that it was really cool that you had the opportunity to see the Earth curve up when you were a teenager. So you had that seed instilled in you from an early age. You hear me?
Yep. So, anyways, I'm all in, and whatever I can do for you, I will. So.
Great, I appreciate that. Now, in your email, you mentioned you said you had a vision of you on a raft,
Well, I'll tell you, this was a dream I had when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
And I really thought it was a dream until I heard your experience, because it kind of mirrors what you went through, or say that you went through. And all I can explain it is this, is that all of a sudden I appeared in this boat, and it was a wooden boat, and it was all hand done, and the wood was just so finely polished with like a very light stain, no shellac or anything, or varnish or anything like that. And I remember looking into the water, and the water was like glowing.
Mm-hmm.
And all these fish came up to me. I was just amazed at them. This one fish was almost kind of like silverly whitish looking at, had some red stripes right across the top of its head, and then there was a couple darker fish underneath that, and I couldn't really see them. I could only see about maybe 2 feet, 3 feet at best into the water. Wow. Because the light was just kind of bright. And then it felt like I was taken there with this entity.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took me with it. I couldn't see it. I could just like feel it.
Was it a good entity?
And then it took me, and it took me 90 degrees from where I was, kind of like up and out. And then the water just kind of was there. It just kind of came up and around. It was like recognize individual continents or anything like that, but I could definitely see land, and I could see lights, and
you said
I could see the ocean.
You said you saw the back of the sun.
Yes, and then I looked over, and there was the back of the sun.
What did it look like to you?
And then I realized I'm looking at the sun, but immediately what caught my eye more than anything were these tubes that they were like huge fiber optic
Yes.
tubes, and there was like 5 or 6 of them.
Yes, that's what I saw. Was the sun dark? Was the back of the sun dark to you?
It was like in the pattern of like either like a star or a hexagon.
Were they hitting the back of the sun, the tubes?
Yes.
Yes, and they were going.
Yes,
were they going?
They clearly went in, and it was all black.
Yes, and it was a.
And they went in, and you could see them go in, and then they just like disappeared into the blackness.
Yeah. Now.
And
were they going across, straight across the diameter of the back of the sun?
Exactly.
That's how I saw it.
Except I was kind of just a little angled off of it. I wasn't perfectly like on the back of it in my vision. I was kind of off to the side of it a little bit, so I could actually see it shining. But then I could see the blackness.
That's awesome.
And at that point, you could almost feel like the light rays were bending.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
And then this entity took me over to the edge of it, just on the other side of the sun, so I could get a good look at what I was looking at, and I could see the line of light-colored and darkness where it was changing between night and day, and I could actually see the convexity of what I was looking at.
What do you mean? Convex of what you were looking at?
I could actually see what I was looking at wasn't flat, but that it was, concave.
Okay, concave. Gotcha.
Yeah, I got mixed up. Concave. So to me, it looked like it either was a big bowl, but I didn't really pay attention to what was like behind me, so it very well could have been a complete circle.
That's awesome.
And then this entity took me into the center of those fiber optic cables, and all of a sudden we're traveling like really fast, and then all of a sudden we come out, and then I see something, what I describe as a triangle or a pyramid, and it was like grayish in color, and all the fiber optic cables were connected to the top of it.
Wow.
And then it took me down into a doorway, which was about halfway down, a little off to the right, and a little higher than halfway down. And it was just glowing bright white.
Amazing.
And I just remember going in there, and that's the last thing I remember.
That's amazing. Now, this entity, was it a benevolent entity? Was it a good entity or bad?
What's that? I can't hear you.
Was the entity that took you, was it a good entity, a bad, or, was it like a parental entity, like an angel, or what would you...
I guess it seemed more like a guardian, or I wouldn't say that it was bad or evil.
Right.
I believe it showed me this because it wanted me to know.
Yeah.
And then when I went into the pyramid, that's where I first I felt like I walked into somebody, and I was like, whoa, and that's all I remember.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you for sharing it.
And when I woke up in the morning, okay, now this happened to me when I was 10. And I'm 49 now, so I woke up in the morning, I could not remember it, but I felt like something biblical happened to me. But this dream, unlike any other dream I've ever had in my life, would start replaying itself throughout my years.
Oh, yeah?
And, it would come back. It came back to me in my 20s, came back to me in my 30s and my 40s. And I was just like, oh, it's just a dream, you kind of had the same experience. And then I was thinking, well, maybe it's not. Maybe I was shown something.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely were. That's amazing. So, you've been kind of like watching me from a distance for a while, or?
Yeah, I could say that. Been trying to, figure things out because generally I don't try to jump the gun on things, and because I think I've fallen every deception there has been along the way. Like, about a year ago, if you said Nibiru was coming in, I'd probably believed you.
Right.
But now my whole construct of what I thought is not. And I truly believe the Earth is concave.
Awesome.
So
that's great. What do you do for a living, Peter?
I'm a golf course mechanic.
Nice. Great. Excellent.
Yep. I'm good at fixing stuff.
You mean like the golf carts and everything, all that stuff, or?
Really, it's all the high-end lawn cutting equipment.
Oh, okay.
It's a job people don't really understand that it takes a lot of detail and effort and smarts to keep it going.
Wow, that's great. Well, thank you for calling, and thank you for sharing with me and the audience. It's great. It's really good to have somebody confirm, what I've been saying, and it's just a matter of time before the dam bursts open and people start realizing that this is reality. And so, the more people like you that come forward and just share their testimony, their experiences, that confirm the concave Earth, that confirm the universe, that confirm heaven. It's amazing. And so
it is amazing. I believe we're in some type of matrix. It is more along the lines of almost computer controlled.
Could very well be. It does seem like this is some kind of simulation. There's a lot of weird synchronicities that happen and stuff. So
yes.
That's great, man. Great. Well, I got your Facebook account. We'll keep in touch on Facebook and YouTube, and anytime you feel like giving me a jingle and letting me know what's up or what you've discovered along the way, I'd be more than willing to hear.
I have. I saw some YouTube videos that I want to send to you.
Sure.
And what I think they are is our stars. They were objects that were fallen from the sky that landed, and they about the size of a human upper body, maybe a little smaller, but they say they're containers, and they're full of liquid. And my first thought was, when I saw them, is that's a star. And it wasn't until I saw you say that they work on sonoluminescence or something like that.
Sonoluminescence, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they were saying that there's liquid in this, and they almost kind of look like one. Well, anyways, I'll send them to you, and you tell me what you think.
Sure. Definitely. I'll take a look at them. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for calling, man.
Okay.
And we'll keep in touch.
Wish you the best, and if I can help you out any way, you've got my number. Give me a call.
Excellent. We'll keep in touch, Peter. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Peter Flatland, ladies and gentlemen.